It has been gimmicked to include a mirror built into the bottom of the chip. Hi, I'm Jason England, a gambling expert and sleight-of-hand based magician in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I'm going to talk to you about something called shiners. So you may remember a shiner from the movie Tacha. A shiner is any sort of reflective surface usually used to see playing cards while the dealer is dealing the cards. Let me show you what I mean. Here I have what looks like a stack of normal poker chips, the kind of chips you would see in a casino or in a high-end private game. But 4 of these chips are normal and 1 of them is not normal. It has been gimmicked to include a mirror built into the bottom of the chip. This mirror can hide on the table, underneath or on top of a stack of chips all night long. But when the dealer wants to deal the cards and read the cards as he or she deals, they can simply hold one of the chips in their hand like this, where you can't see it if you're sitting across from them at the table. And then as I push that card over to take it, I'm looking right at the card in the mirror. I'm looking right at the ace of diamonds, okay? So when I push the card over, here's actually the ace of hearts is on top. The ace of diamonds was the next card. The ace of hearts is in the mirror and I'm staring right at it. So when I see the ace of hearts go to the first player, the ace of diamonds goes to the second player. I push over and I can see a 4 of spades going to the third player, and so on all around the table. So I would know what every single person at the table was holding, at least for their first couple of cards. Now, the truth is, most of the time you don't try to memorize the whole table. You just pick 1 or 2 players that you would like to know their cards. Usually you pick the strongest players at the table. Everyone else you can beat without having to cheat. But the strong players are the ones that concern you. So by knowing what they're holding, you can only be cheating against them, and you will still probably win most of the money by the end of the night. Whenever you set your chip back down, it sort of disappears in with the other chips. As you play with the chips, shuffle the chips if you want, whatever you want to do, these things now operate just like regular poker chips until it's time for you to deal again. That's just one example of a shiner. So shiners don't have to be built into chips. They can be built into any sort of everyday object that would not look out of place at a card table. For instance, built into a pipe, we have a small mirror. Now, this pipe and a real pipe would be in the pocket of the cheater. The cheater would reach into their pocket, take the real pipe out and smoke the pipe during the game, and then put it away and maybe take it out later and start to smoke it, but instead set it onto the table. And then as they were dealing over the top of the pipe, they're actually getting a reflection of whatever the top card is as they pass right over the mirror. And sometimes this mirror has to be angled just right. So you might have to set it on a small stack of chips like this to get the right angle. But the cheaters have these angles all worked out ahead of time. They know exactly how to set it down. And sometimes the people on either side of them are in on it. So even though they might be able to see the mirror, they're not going to say anything because they're getting some of the money at the end of the night. Here's another example of something we could build a shiner into. We could build a shiner into a stack of chips like this that's actually been glued together. This stack of old chips, these chips probably date from the 1940s or 50s, have been glued together, and an angled mirror placed inside them with a real chip on top just to make it look good. And again, if this stack of chips is at the proper height, and I'll probably have to put some more chips underneath it, but once it's at the proper height, I can actually see right into the reflection of that mirror, and I can tell what the top card is. So shiners can be built into almost anything. Here's an example of a perfect shiner that was not designed to be a shiner. It's just a very brightly polished ring. And if I spin that ring around to the proper place, as I pass cards over the top of it, I'm seeing the reflection of the cards as I deal. Some people like to put the ring on their right hand. Other people might like to put the ring on their left hand and push the deck forward slightly. And then as the cards come back, they are passed over the shiner and you see the reflection. Last but not least, here's something that you see in the US quite often. It's a money clip. It's designed for folding money, paper money, to go inside the clip, and gentlemen would carry this instead of a wallet. They just carry their money and maybe an ID card or something like that. So this money clip is very reflective, and it was not designed to be a shiner, but it makes a perfect shiner. And if this was sitting out on the table and people were not paying attention, as I dealt across the top of the money clip, I could know what the cards were. And again, usually they would only target 1 or 2 players. So over here, I'm not using the shiner. And when I get to this player, the person I want to know what the cards are that they have, I'm glancing down into the shiner. So a perfect example of something that was not supposed to be a cheating device, but that cheaters can turn into a cheating device. Last but not least, here's a perfect shiner. If this phone is allowed to sit out on the table, once it turns off, it makes a perfect reflective surface. And if the lighting is just right in the room, I can see any card that passes over the top of it. And if it's angled just right, because it's sitting on a couple of my chips, then I'm the only person that gets the proper angle and the only person that sees the reflection of the cards as they pass over the top of the phone. This is not something you would see in a serious money game where there was a lot of money on the line, but it's something you might see in a casual game where people were not paying attention. I appreciate you watching this, and thank you very much. I'm Jason England, and I'll see you next time.